The Mai Tai for me is definitely one of the most iconic tiki cocktails ever invented. It's definitely one of my favourite go-tos, and I've played with it extensively over the years with some fun riffs. Now, going back to my first memory of the Mai Tai, I actually had it in one of my local bars in Cambridge. It was called, it was a chain actually called Old Orleans. They don't exist, well, I don't think they exist anymore. But you know, in Cambridge, those of my generation are gonna know that for the flaming Lamborghinis, the vapor shots. Christ, you would not get away with the vapors these days in pubs and bars. They are outlawed. And if you don't know what a vapor is, hit me up in the comments below. Going back to my first experience of the Mai Tai, the way it was served is nowhere like how it should be served. For a start, it had pineapple juice in it, and quite a lot of it. And it was actually served in one of these, a hurricane glass, so you can imagine how big it was. I mean, it was tasty, but it was nothing like a Mai Tai that we know and love. So today I'm going to try and stick to as close to the original recipe, Trader Vics original 1944 recipe, as I can. Bearing in mind the rums are going to be slightly different, and I'm going to talk about the rums after I've made the cocktail for you. But the best way to describe a Mai Tai is actually kind of like a nutty margarita or a nutty rum margarita. It's essentially a margarita with added almond or Orgeat syrup and rum instead of a tequila. That's all it is. Whether you want to call it a nutty daiquiri or a nutty tequila, that's kind of nutty margarita. That's kind of what it is. So I'll talk about, ignore the rums for a second. I'll talk about these original rums and why I'm using these after I've made the cocktail. But essentially I'm going for 2 ounces of a blend of rums. I'm cracking out the brand new William Fox, I think is bottle number 1 of George's William Fox's Orgeat syrup. I can't wait to play with this. I've had a little sample. It's really, really good. I've got my Orange Liqueur. It's Fortunello. It's actually a kumquat liqueur. And again, I will be doing a video where I kind of deep dive down the whole Orange Liqueur, because we could use Pierre Ferrand dry orange curacao. We could use Cointreau. We could use Triple Sec. We could use Grand Marnier. We could use Mandarin Napoleon, which I'm really excited to try. Like, any of those will work, and what difference do they make? So Fortunello has been my go-to now for a good year, 18 months. I've got some lime juice, and in there I've actually gone kind of what I interpret as the original. I've read a couple of different recipes in there. That is actually a blend of vanilla and Demerara sugar. Okay, I've seen recipes that just say Demerara sugar. I've seen recipes where he had a blend of vanilla and Demerara, his own sort of blend of sugar. So I've gone for vanilla and Demerara. So I'm going to shake this one up. I'm not going to blend it. You know, I don't think it's a blended cocktail anyway. The first ingredient is some lemon juice. I've already got some there. I've already sort of done some. As I mentioned in the previous video, I've gone back to this now as my lemon juicer. I don't like the Mexican elbows, because what I like, you can kind of save these for garnishes and freeze them down if you do it off a juicer like this. So I've just gone back to this. So I basically want 3/4 of an ounce, 75 ml of lime juice. That's what I'm going for. And there will be plenty in here, wherever my jigger is. So 3/4 of an ounce. Sorry, 0.75 of an ounce. That's what I'm going for. So 22.5 ml. And then I'm going for 1/4 of an ounce, so 7.5 ml of this Demerara and vanilla sugar syrup. So 7.5 ml. I am then going for this new Orgeat syrup, and for my membership community, I will be doing a video straight after this where I'm comparing the two to see what they're like. So members, if you haven't seen already, bearing in mind these are pre-recorded, and then make sure you dive into the community to dive. I'll stick the link in Discord, but I'm going for the same. I'm going for 7.5 ml, which is 1/4 of an ounce. And then I'm going for my Orange Liqueur. And drop me a note in the comments below. What's your go-to Orange Liqueur if you make a Mai Tai? What do you actually use? Any of the ones I listed previously. So for this, I'm going for 15 ml, 1/2 ounce. Now, for the 2 ounces of blended rum, I'm going to try and get as close to his kind of flavour profile that he ended up with. I think it was version 2 where he ran out the 17-year-old. Version 3, sorry, he ran out the 17-year-old and then the 15-year-old, and then kind of blended his own. So I'm going to try and stick to that as close as possible. So I've only got a 12-year-old, unfortunately, Jamaican rum. So I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of that's a 22.5 ml of 12-year-old rum. And then this is where the Agricole comes out to play for the first time. First time I've used an Agricole in this series of videos for that. So I'm going to do the same, 22.5 ml, 3/4 of an ounce of Agricole. And this will kind of add to the sort of nutty-ish aromas. And then to bring that up to kind of like the Demerara dark sort of kind of taste that he had as well, I'm going to use half an ounce of my go-to kind of Pampero Anniversario. It's my go-to sort of dark rum. Absolutely gorgeous. So half an ounce of that, 15 ml. Now, of all the recipe books I have seen, it's always shaken down with crushed ice. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm actually going to do what they say in Smuggler's Cove. I'm going to crushed ice, and then I forget what it says now. I'll add three. 3 cubes of chunky ice, just to kind of shake that down. Now, you know the drill. Proper hard and fast welly, 10 to 12 seconds. Right, and when that's nice and cold, that's what you want to see. Can you see the frosting? That's what you want when you shake with crushed ice. Look at that, that's really cold. Now to serve up, this glass, I love this glass. It is actually called a Mai Tai glass. Now you could strain into that if you wanted to, no ice, but I kind of like Mai Tais with ice. So I've just got this out there. It's in the fridge actually, not the freezer. So I've just got that out of the fridge. I'm just going to do a dirty dump, because that's what he says in the well, that's what Smuggler's Cove says. So a dirty dump. Oh, we're about bang on. I love that. And then garnish wise, it's actually all about some mint. And I haven't got the best mint, but never just use, you want a whole clump of mint. That's what you want. So garnish that with a bit of mint there. And then that's what I said at the start. You got your spent lime. And that just sits nicely on there. And then again, big shout out to Jungle Straws. I'm loving these straws actually. I should have got these ages ago, but some kind of like bamboo there. So that's my straws. Now, be honest. When I first tried this just a couple of seconds ago, I thought to myself, yeah, because that is not my normal recipe. I actually normally add a little bit more Orgeat Syrup to it. So in total, we've used 15 ml, 2 lots of 7.5, the Demerara and the Orgeat. I normally go 15 ml and then a Demerara, so 7.5 ml of that. So I've got 22.5 ml normally. And that's kind of there or thereabouts with that, because this is kind of a limey drink, citrus for a drink. However, after those initial seconds have passed, I then start to appreciate this cocktail for what it actually should be. And it's in essence, it's all about the rums. It's letting those base rums do the work with just subtle nuances of like almonds, with Demerara, with a little tiny bit of orange coming through. And it's those rums. And I think, for me, I think I've actually nailed it with these rums. Yes, if I upgraded my Agricole, I might get a better kind of rounded taste. But as far as the Jamaican goes in there, you get plenty of Jamaican funk, and that is enhanced by the funk of the Agricole. But it's kind of beautifully finished off with the Demerara as well, the sort of Pampero Anniversario, this kind of dark rum. And I think, for me, that's as close as what I could get with what I've got here to Trader Vics original recipe. But that's the thing, when you read all these recipes, and no, I don't want you diving into the comments below with your recipe suggestions of what rums you use with pineapple juice. I don't want to see anything mentioning pineapple juice. That is the Mai Tai. There's no pineapple juice anywhere near the Mai Tai. But I want to know what rums you would use in your Mai Tai, whether you just go 2 or whether you kind of try and do the 3 like I've done. Let me know in the comments below, because the Mai Tai, stick to that original kind of thing, your Orgeat, your Demerara, your lime and your orange, and then it's all about the rums. So now we've focused on the Mai Tai, it's time to go back to sort of sipping a couple of rums. So up there, I'm going to be focusing on the rum old fashioned.